Welcome back. Regular viewers of this channel, and people who know me enough by now, can tell you that I'm into a lot of different things besides being a techie, geeky kind of guy. My other main area of expertise and interest, I would say, would be the outdoor scene, and particularly camping and hiking. And of course, since I like my gear, as one would know, I also like my camping and hiking gear, and I have quite a good collection, I would say. And I find that gear and tools are kind of universal across different genres, and it depends on what you're using the tool for, depends on what tool you'll need, if that kind of makes sense. So obviously, if you need a hammer to put a nail in, you might not need a jackhammer to put a nail in, you know, that kind of thing. Just the right tool for the right job. And that being said, you know, I've done quite a few different reviews of different tools or different like flashlights and stuff like that on this channel, and surprisingly the review videos are more popular than a lot of the how-to videos. So I figured, why not kind of marry the multiple interests that I have together and do something with it. And in a couple weeks I'm going to be going on another camping trip. It's actually a little more than a month away, and I wanted to pick up some pieces that I either didn't have or really wanted to get, to kind of do a little bit of a comparison. And there will be more of that on this channel. Actually, I'm going to be doing some more gear reviews for outdoor stuff like that. Of course, there's tons and tons of YouTubers out there already who are doing perfectly good gear reviews, like outdoor gear reviews. One I've watched before. There's tons of them. But then again, there's also tons of people who do tech reviews and teardowns and stuff like that. So I guess just the way the materials presented itself is what makes it better, or I don't want to say better, because I don't really think I'm better than anybody, just different. With that being said, this afternoon I went to Walmart and I picked myself up a new stove. Now I went with a butane stove because I already have a isobutane propane stove. That's a little blend. And I also have a standard propane stove. And I wanted something that was kind of in between, because the butane stove is a single burner small stove. The isobutane propane mixed kind of thing, that's a little tiny backpacking stove. And then my butane, or my propane stove I should say, is a big double burner, you know, a little bit overkill stove. So for me, who usually goes by myself, I wanted to get something different. Plus, I won't say I'm a prepper, but I've watched enough prepper videos, and I've known enough people who were preppers in my life to say that you don't want to just kind of put all your eggs in one basket. You want to have multiple sources of heat, or, you know, cooking options, I guess you could say. So having 3 different stoves for 3 different fuel types, in my eyes, is kind of good just to have on hand, because maybe you can't get to propane, maybe you can't get to butane, or and some of these things have different usages. Like the big 2-burner stove is obviously going to be better for car camping, as this would be, whereas the little isobutane blend stove, it's a backpacking stove. It's tiny, it's going to fit into your pocket. So it depends on what you're using it for, what, you know, equipment you're cooking with. This one, they mentioned it does up to a 10-inch pan. A lot of the smaller 1-burner stoves can't go that big. So there are different advantages. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open this up. It's still brand new in the box, and we'll take a look at it. I'll point out some of the things that I liked about it, just why I bought this particular one. And what I'm eventually going to do is when I go out and have some time, we're going to do a shootout video with the different stoves that I have, and I'll give you a really good comparison as to why you want one stove over another and when you would use those particular tools, basically. So let's go ahead, turn the camera around here, and we'll give you a view of what this guy looks like. Before I go ahead and unbox this, I'll point out a couple things while I have it all laid out on the table. I did purchase this today from Walmart. The price was $18.78. You notice it is the gray color. If you go on to Coleman's website, they have the blue color listed, and it's a little bit more money. If I remember correctly, it was closer to $35, and I'm sure, you know, you're not going to find it that expensive. You know, Walmart had the cheapest price from what I've seen. The cans of fuel here, these were $2.97 each. This is an 8.8 ounce cartridge. They tell me on the box that that cartridge will last 1.25 hours, so that's an hour and 15 minutes on high heat. Of course, you're not going to always cook on high heat, you're going to cook on lower heat, so that should last you a little longer. In the shootout video, I will have a comparison of the prices of the butane versus propane. I will tell you right now that the propane tank, a 16.4 ounce standard size propane tank, and the 8.8 ounce size butane tank that you're looking at here are very, very close in price per ounce, we'll say. The isobutane blend that isn't mentioned really much in this video is actually going to be the more expensive of the three, but you can use that in colder temperatures. But that's all going to be later on in the comparison video. This particular one is going to be looking at this device here. So if we slide this top off here, and this flips around. Now this is a nice plastic case. It's not super heavy duty. You know, this is something that's just going to keep this stove in nice shape. It's going to keep it nice and clean when it's stored. I don't know how well it's going to keep the stove from getting knocked around. I mean, it's kind of loose in the case, not a lot. And the case, I'll show you here, it doesn't seal up perfectly, so no, it's not waterproof. It's not going to go floating away on you if you have it in your boat or anything like that. I mean, it may, but it doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me. The little latches here, they slide outward, the thing opens up. But you can just kind of see, I don't want to say flimsy. It's not the most durable, but it's not weak. It's kind of flimsy. I mean, it's not horrible. I'm glad it came with it though. My big 2-burner stove doesn't have a case. It folds within, you know, into itself, and then you can slide it into a canvas bag if you want. I don't have the bag. And the little pocket rocket, the MSR pocket rocket stove that I have, the isobutane stove, that fits right into your pocket in its own little plastic case. So I mean, it's nice that all of them do have some kind of a carry, you know, a way to carry it. But I mean, you know, it's nice handle. All in all, it's a decent case. It's not like a piece of junk, but it's not the nicest case either. It's middle of the road. So we open it up, we'll see. And by the way, the case does open all the way, which is kind of nice. Some don't. We have the manual. Now, I know a lot of people joke around and say, who needs this? And they toss it away. You do need this. There are some things in here, some precautions you should follow. I kind of find it funny that certain things like burn hazard are listed. It's a stove. You should really know you could burn yourself on it. I mean, if you didn't know that, you should probably pack this up and just not use it. I mean, not to be an idiot, but I mean, really, there are some things in here I know you should know already. But there are some things you might not know. You know, I mean, it tells you in here how to set it, how to adjust it. There's a section here, things you should know. So I do recommend reading the manual. Right now, I'll put it to the side. I'll read it at my own leisure, because I'm just going to go over and show you some things that I noticed about this, just from other reviews and just initial looking at it in the store. I did go to 2 different Walmarts. My intention wasn't to buy this today. It just happened to be one of those like impulse things I figured I would buy. The first Walmart I went to had it sitting just like this on the shelf with a little price tag stuck here. And something about it was just like, you know, who knows? Let me just find a fresh one someplace. So I went to the second Walmart, not too much further away, and they found it with a nice sleeve on it. It was taped to the side. Even had a little zip tie, zip shut on here, so I know it was new. But anyway, inside you have your typical, you know, cellophane bag. As always, they put, again with warnings, they tell you on the bag that, you know, don't let children play with this because there's a suffocation hazard. I mean, you should really know that. I mean, they went ahead and even put holes in the bags just in case it does, God forbid, get into a child's hands. They can not suffocate on it, providing that hole, of course, lines up in the right place. But I digress. So we just have the simple stove, and this is it. I mean, it's a nice little unit. You set your vent holes here. You know, it's just standard stamped steel construction. Kind of exposed. My other stove is all enclosed in the bottom, but no big deal. Not like it's necessary. I mean, after all this is a regulator knob, a striker, a burner, and a place to put your pot. I mean, the rest of it, of course, is just going to be steel, you know, some kind of a metal. But, you know, it seems pretty nice. It's not rubber feet, so this won't slide. I mean, it will slide. It doesn't have any kind of like anti-slide protection on it, but then again, you should be using this on a flat surface. Even the little feet here, they look like they'd be rubber, but they're not. They're plastic. The knob here, you could see off obviously is on. If you bring it all the way down here to high, you can actually strike here at the end, so you can hear it click. The knob does feel really nice. There is some resistance up here at the top where the off is, and then it goes to really nothing until you get to the end here where you have that hard click. And you can see you can continually click it if you need to, which is nice. We'll see how well this adjusts. I hear it does a pretty good job. This is the little lever here that actually disengages the mechanism that locks the canister on. You can see there's a hole. You can actually inspect the connection. And then, you know, they have the instructions printed pretty nicely on here, which is always a good thing. And you get it in both English and French, but it looked like the book, the actual manual, is in English and Spanish, which is interesting. I know some of the other stoves that I've looked at online, the grill here, the actual grate flips over and flips on top before it goes into the case. This one doesn't seem like that's the case. No pun intended. Some pieces here we'll point out. This is a porcelain coated cook grate. It does have a wind guard ring here, you can see inside. This is an aluminum burner head, which is nice. There's your little piezo ignition. And you can see it's got nicely spaced out holes, and I'm assuming the fuel will also come out these holes here in the middle. They tell you on the packaging not to use this indoors, which should be obvious. Anytime you use any of these fuel canisters, the burning of this type of fuel, either butane, propane, pretty much any of this stuff, even natural gas really, will deplete the oxygen in the room and could replace it with carbon monoxide. So you want to make sure you're using it in a very well ventilated area. I have read some reviews, and this isn't something I'm recommending to do, but I have read reviews that people do use these in their cabins or in their RVs or their house even, as sometimes an additional burner. You know, like you're already using the 4 on your stove and you wanted to use one more. And I thought about that, and I said it's probably not the safest thing to do, but people do have propane stoves in their house. You just have to make sure it's very well ventilated. You're not going to want to use this in your tent. But I'm going to go ahead with the company's recommendation and just not use it. You know, it can be done. I'm not going to recommend it. That's just should be said. But anyway, on the side over here, there is a little door that opens up, and you can put the fuel canister in here. The fuel canister does have a little tab on the top to help line it up with a mechanism in here. There's actually a little tab right here you could see. And you want to make sure, and by the way, I'll point this out, that you don't store these in here. It's only meant to hold this container when it's in use, which is a little bit of a bummer, honestly. It would be really nice if you can leave this in here, shut the top, put it in the case, and bring it with you. But in reality, I could see why that's not a good idea, because, you know, something can go wrong. This valve can open up, the thing could lock. I mean, there's so many different little things. You're better off just not doing it. I'm sure there's people who do it. Again, it's something I'm not going to recommend doing. But at any rate, you just take off the little red top. This probably isn't very dissimilar from the actual stuff you use to refill lighters. I think the only difference is they have a different nipple. But this, for all intents and purposes, is just regular lighter fluid from, you know, butane lighter. But you can see when you look at this little tray in here actually moves. So this sits in here. I'll show you a close-up. There's this little nipple right here, and this tank will fit right into that nipple, and you do have to lift up this little latch right here, and that'll actually like I said, center the can. So you lift that up, you put this in, lower that down, and then you just go like that and lock it into place, and that engages the gas. You can shut that top, and it's nice because you can actually, you know, inspect that in here. Of course, it smells. Butane has that rotteny egg kind of smell to it, just like propane does. Normally on its own you probably wouldn't smell it. But anyway, we just take this, and you can actually hear the gas hissing a little bit, and click, poof, a nice flame. I'll turn off some lights so we can see that flame. And yeah, as I did suspect, the holes there do emit fire. We'll see, we'll lower this down. And it went right out. Let's see. It is a little touchy, I will say. It doesn't seem like there's much adjustability until you get to this certain point, and then the flame does lower, and it can get to a point where it will go out altogether. Now, one thing I like about this, it's quiet. In fact, let me turn off the TV in the room so we get more light, or more darkness here, and perhaps even shut off my camera. One thing I'll point out about these cameras is it'd be nice if they had a light button on the outside and not to go through the menu, but that's another subject of another video, as always. But yeah, here we go on that pretty low. That's straight to off. We'll go to high, and that's your 7,000 plus BTU flame, like I mentioned. The double burner Stansport stove that I have is 25,000 BTUs per burner, and this one's only 7,000, like I said. So this on high is like the other one on low, but I think this one I have more control over. I mean, I can get this down to a nice little simmer. So far, I actually really like this stove. I'll see if I can get you a little close-up zoom-in view of the flame here. But you can see it's a very nice, even flame. Now, I'm in here, obviously, in a controlled environment, working on a bench. But I do have a fan blowing. And you can see now the flame stabilizing a little bit. The wind is blowing it around in here, and the fan is on high speed. So, you know, that could simulate wind. But of course, outside, you're going to get gusts. You're going to get little breezes. And I'm actually using a pad here. You can see right here, this little pad, kind of fanning the flame a little bit, and it's stable. I mean, it's pretty good. Like a blow on it. You can see the little jets in the middle kind of blow out. But not bad. I don't have any really anything to cook with right now, and I didn't want to do that in this particular video. But we'll see. We'll go back up to high here. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty stable flame from just trying to blow on it. I mean, I'm giving it my all. Yeah, it's not bad. It seems pretty effective, and I've heard it on the reviews. A lot of people said the same thing. It seems like it's got a really nicely adjustable knob, and the flame seems like it stays lit, which is what you want. I keep going back to the propane stove, the double burner. That thing sounds like a jet engine, and so does the little iso butane stove. The thing is loud. This thing is silent. I mean, you just listen. Very quiet, and I like that. Not that, you know, we're trying to be stealthy, but something about that roaring fire on that other stove just doesn't bode well by me. But anyway, we'll turn the lights back on here. I'll kill this flame. Not really much more to point out in this particular video. There's already quite a few of these reviews on YouTube now, but I figured we'll do the Pileggi Technical Services best and do a little bit of a different review than I guess you normally see. I don't have real world numbers on this yet. That'll be part of the shootout. You know, we'll see things like the efficiency of the fuel, how hot the butane burns versus how hot propane burns, the temperatures you can use it at, the weight of the canister versus the amount of fuel you get in it. We'll test to see how quickly a pot of water will take the boil on each device, and you know, things like that. Longevity, but that's something that we'll have to test with years of use. You know, durability, stuff like that. I could tell you just from playing with it, I mean, it's, if you give it the squeeze test and you kind of rattle it back and forth here, pretty impressive. Pretty happy with it. It seems like it's nicely built. It doesn't feel flimsy. It is thin gauge metal, but it doesn't feel like thin gauge metal. By the way, to get this can back out, disconnect it, pull it straight out, and it's always a good idea to keep the little tops on it. What I'll actually do is with this particular can, I'll put a little U on it to let me know that one's used, the other one's new. And when I go camping on the 2-night trip, I will definitely bring both cans with me. And well, when that trip comes up, we'll do a loadout video. I'm actually going to take all the different pieces of gear that I have out, we'll line it up, and I'll show you kind of briefly what each piece is, why you may or may not need it, and ultimately if we're bringing it on that trip. The last few times I've gone a little heavy equipment wise. This time I intend on going light, so that should be a good comparison. So stay tuned for that. I can tell you this though, the next video in particular on this channel will probably be right back to tech related stuff again, because you know, I don't really plan on doing a whole lot of these outdoor gear review kind of things, because like I said, there are quite a few people already doing them, and that's their area of expertise. They're certainly more versed in these kind of things than I am, but this is a channel on learning and discovery, and that's what we'll look at, is a normal amateur everyday users review of these kind of things, and we'll let the professionals do the professional reviews of all these items, and the people who do like tool teardowns and stuff like that, and they could tell you the actual composition of each metal piece on here and what kind of aluminum they used. And I really like those videos, but that's not me. That's more stuff that I don't know. And I don't want to say I don't want to care to learn it, but I don't really need to learn that stuff right now because it's not part of my lifestyle or anything like that. So I take my knowledge as I need it, I apply it to my day-to-day routines as necessary, and I go with it from there. But anyway guys, I want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you may have found something in here interesting, and it may have sparked an interest in future videos. And with that, if you're not already a subscriber, please do so. That will help me grow this channel. Well, we'll see you guys next video. Thanks for watching.